What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm going to break down why Tesla bounced the way it did today and why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have the big guy Jerome Powell giving a speech. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right over here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of NVIDIA plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of NVIDIA plus $100 as the cash reward. Or deposits $50,000 or more to get $1,000 of free NVIDIA stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon, so please use my links down below to sign up. Anyways, as far as Tesla and the market are going, we got a very, very nice gap up on Tesla and the markets after some things that President Trump had said. And instead of just kind of like consolidating like SPY and the QQQ today, they were up 1.5 and 2%. Tesla actually outperformed them by being up over 5.4%. With a 2.0 beta, you would think Tesla should be up only 4%, but it was up extra because we got some more good news. So why did the market gap up? Let's go over that first, and I'll talk about Tesla news. Then I'll break down the charts in more detail. First and foremost, okay, we had this news that came out right over here. When it comes to China, we had a lot of tensions on Friday. As you guys know, China was threatening more of these trade restrictions when it comes to their minerals, export and licensing restrictions, which would have hurt a lot of American businesses that are so dependent on China. So that was the negative news that ended up coming out. This was a little bit more negative for investors. That's how we kind of started things off. But what caused the market to sink was what President Trump said. He said that China was being very hostile. He wasn't happy about how they were behaving. And then he threatened a 100% tariff on China. That is what caused a lot of fear. China also mentioned that they want to retaliate if that ends up being the case. President Trump said that the 100% tariff is going to be imposed in November. But keep in mind, the reason he's announcing it in November is because he wants to get a reaction out of China. He wants to see how they end up responding. He wants them to negotiate. He's using this as a tactic, at least so far. Whether you like his tactics or not, it's up to you to decide. I'm just telling you what the facts are. So with that happening, there was all this tension between the US and China. We saw Tesla stock dump alongside SPY and the QQQ. But here's the thing, but there is some good news. Then President Trump came out yesterday morning and he said, don't worry about China. It will all be fine. The highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want a depression for his country, neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. So President Trump said that. That's why we've got this very, very nice, monstrous bounce in the markets, a nice gap up. It's also because of technicals, because once again, the technical aspect of things also affected the way the market was moving. That's part of why we got this bounce. So for Tesla, keep in mind that we also have earnings in the middle of next week, and there's a lot of optimism because Tesla saw a big increase in their overall sales. And then on top of this, there's been a lot of talk about how, Tesla has a big edge over other companies. We had Wedbush Securities analyst Dan Ives say that he thinks Tesla's presence in China gives it a clear advantage in sourcing rare earth materials and magnets. While Tesla could get dented by this raw material tightening in China, the company is best positioned amongst US automakers to navigate any speed bumps on this front, according to him. That is some good news. Finally, there was more news that came out that Tesla has been working to increase and ramp up the production for the fourth quarter in their Shanghai Gigafactory. This is what the Vice President Hao Lin had said. That is some good news as sales in China are also up. So lots of good news about increasing production. There's lots of optimism associated with deliveries coming out very soon. That's why we're seeing Tesla bouncing and outperforming the market so far. So what's happening for tomorrow? Why is tomorrow a big day? Well, I do think Tesla and the markets could try to go a bit higher. We could try to push in the morning looking at technicals, but whether we continue to pump or if we get some kind of rug pull is still possible because it depends on Jerome Powell. So here's how tomorrow is going to go. To start things off for Tesla and the markets, tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, October 14th. Before the market opens, we have BlackRock announcing their earnings alongside JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citi, and Wells Fargo. This is very important because these big banks do tend to be the leaders in the finance sector, and they are the ones that are once again providing funding and loans for a lot of businesses in America. They have a big effect on the US economy, so make sure you're ready for this. Expect a big move once these earnings come out. As of recent, the banks had decent earnings, so hopefully earnings are okay, and that helps Tesla to some extent alongside the markets. That's what happens before market open, but things get more serious later on. Once again, tomorrow is Tuesday, October 14th. We have Bowman from the Fed giving a speech and some minor data throughout the day, but at 12:20 p.m., we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. And what he says could be very important because Jerome Powell is going to be speaking at the Economic Outlook and Monetary Policy report. He's going to be speaking about that. It's going to be at the National Association of Business Economics. So that's very important. That's very, very important because Jerome Powell is going to give us more insights about economic outlooks and monetary policy. And what he says could cause some high volatility. Now, with Jerome Powell, I want to remind everyone that there's going to be a big shift right now, especially with what's happening between the US and China. Jerome Powell, before when he was speaking, he was oftentimes talking about how the US is making these big moves. They have to be careful with their monetary policy changes. But you have to remember that there's a change in context now. The US has new tariffs coming out in China, and we're going to see if this changes his tonality. That's why you have to be very careful with Jerome Powell, in my opinion. So, the market had a lot of fear. It was extremely fearful. Now it's just fearful as fear is subsiding a little bit. Will this shift or not? We'll see about that. Momentum is still at fear, but it's starting to build upwards, which is once again becoming less fearful. The put to call option ratio is at greed right now, and the VIX is at extreme fear. So we'll see if these shift or not. So with that being said, let's now break down what this means, at least for the markets in context of Jerome Powell and etc. On the 4-hour time frame, Tesla looks more bullish, and we're trying to get back up to that 440 psychological area. If Tesla loses 430, we're looking for a move back down towards 426. If we're bullish, though, you want to see us basically hold above 440 to continue to push for 445. I think that as far as Tesla's going, we are looking more bullish. I think we look more bullish, and we're favoring the 440 area to be tested. And we'll see if we could break past this or not. I would recommend watching that very, very closely. If we break this, we're going higher, but if we reject, we could turn back down. I think we kind of trade sideways between 440 and 430 for some time. And then Jerome Powell's speech will either launch this higher causes to kind of rug pull. So it depends on what the big guy Jerome Powell ends up saying. But for now, Tesla is favoring the 440 area. So I think that Tesla looks bullish. And then on top of this, we also have something else that could be affecting us. When it comes to other tickers, we also have SPY and the QQQ. Right now, they are looking a little bit more in favor of bulls, which could help us bounce. But don't forget, we also have these big gaps below to fill in case we get some kind of rejection. So if SPY and the QQQ try to gap up tomorrow, that could also benefit Tesla. Keep that in mind in the context of what Tesla is doing. On the daily time frame, Tesla looks more bullish, so we're favoring the low 440s. I think for tomorrow, we could see a little bit more upside, especially as Tesla's forming like a flag. But it also depends on some factors, so we'll just have to see if we get some kind of rebound or not. We are due for a small bounce, at least nonetheless. So I predict tomorrow Tesla tries to push for the low 440s, but we might consolidate as time goes on. And then we're going to see Jerome Powell either launches higher, either launch Tesla back to 450 or give us that rug pull back down to this gap fill. We'll see just to be safe, so I recommend being very unbiased and to watch and be careful with Jerome Powell. For SPY, if we end up losing 659, we have a gap to fill below. If we break past 665 to 666, we're looking for new highs. So break this resistance, then we're going for the all-time high right here. But if we lose 659, we're looking for that gap fill below. I think tomorrow morning we push for 665 to 666 and then consolidate like this. And then we're either going to continue to launch higher or we get a big rug pull back down depending on Jerome Powell. So look for some upside in the morning and some consolidation. Then we'll see if we get a rug pull or if we keep going. At that point, it depends on what Jerome Powell says, and I cannot make promises about that. On the QQQ, if we're bullish, you want to see us break past 603. If it breaks, we're looking for 605 plus, and then we're going for all-time highs if we break those resistances. If we're bearish, you want to see us lose 597. If that fails us, we're looking for a move back down to fill the gap at 590. In my opinion, because we gapped up on the QQQ, we're actually favoring this like 603 to 606 area for a push right back up. For a little bit more upside tomorrow, I think we favor some upside, but whether we continue to pump past 605 and keep going for all-time highs, or if we get a rug pull, it depends on Jerome Powell. So expect some upside in the morning, most likely, as the most likely possibility. Then we'll see if we get a rug pull or not. Watch the levels just to be safe. The IWM is favoring upside for 246, but if we end up losing 243, we're looking for a move back down to 241. Looking at the 4-hour, we're actually going to be favoring a push back up towards 246. So the upside potential is actually there, at least for the IWM, to push back up towards 245 to 246. Once we push up here, will we get some kind of rejection for another leg down? We'll see about that just to be safe, depending on what the big guy Jerome Powell has to say. On ES, if we're bullish, you want to see us basically break past 6750 to push for all-time highs. But if we can't hold above 6700, we end up losing 6667. We could be turning back down towards 6610 or below. In my opinion, we're kind of choppy here, so we're favoring a test of the low 6700s, a move down in some consolidation like this. Then we'll see if we launch higher, if we turn back down, depending on what Jerome Powell says. But for now, we're favoring the low 6700s for some upside. Then we'll see if we turn down or up, depending on how this ends up moving. On NQ, if we break past 25,000, we're looking for a push back up to 25,200. But if we lose 24,600, we're turning back down. I am favoring 25,000 or above on NQ. Then we'll see if we break out higher or if we get a big rejection. It is best to be very unbiased about how we go about this. But this chart is still favoring 25,000 for a little bit more upside. Tomorrow morning, I think we go a bit higher with the big bank earnings. That's my prediction. And then we'll see if we get a rug pull with Jerome Powell or not. We'll have to see about that. It could be going either way. Honestly, guys, I can't make promises about Jerome Powell once again because you don't know what he's going to say because of all these like new tariffs coming out and such. You never know what Jerome Powell is going to tell us, which is why you want to be very, very careful when he starts giving his speech. On Bitcoin, we have a cup and handle favoring upside for 117,000 if that breaks. If we're bearish, you want to see us lose this low right here at 114,000. If that fails us, we're turning right back down. But for now, we're favoring 117,000 plus. I think the odds favor us trying to push back up towards that resistance. Then we'll see if we get some kind of rejection or not. For Tesla, we're looking a bit more bullish. Now, if we end up losing essentially this 431 area, we're once again looking for 426 or below. And if we break past 440, we're looking for 445. I think we favor 440 to 445. Then we'll see if Tesla consolidates and we'll see if it turns down afterwards or if it keeps pumping. There is more upside coming, but it depends on Jerome Powell, so be very careful nonetheless. On Nvda, if we're bullish, you want to break past 190 to continue to pump. But if we lose 185, we're looking for this gap pull back down to 183. So we'll see if we turn back down and bounce or not, so be very careful. On Aapl, we're dipping right here. We look a little bit weaker compared to the markets. Look at 252 as our resistance and see if we break that to be bullish. But right now, we're favoring a retest of 245, and then we'll see if we bounce off that or not. On other tickers, such as Netflix, Netflix is looking weaker to me. We could be retesting the low 1200s, and then we're going to see if we get some kind of bounce off that or not. But for now, it's looking a bit more bearish. And once again, for Tesla, it's looking more bullish. Could be looking for like the low 440s. Then we'll see if we reject or not. But as of right now, I think we're doing a great job. Going back to MSTR, this looks bullish, technically speaking, favoring 321 to 323, right back up here. Then we'll see if we get a rejection if we keep going, so be very careful. But for now, there's upside potential. I think we're holding up quite nicely. For Celsius, for those who are interested, if we end up losing 59.6, we're looking for a dump. If we break 61.3, we're looking for an attempt for the 63 area. It looks a bit more bullish to me if we could hold above 61.33, but then we'll see if we reject or not. For Supermicro, we want to also see this break past the 56 area to continue to push. We have a gap to fill down here at 52.8, so we're going to see if this consolidates and dips back down to 52, and we'll see if we bounce or not. But I do see some weakness in Supermicro unless we get back above 56. So break 5.6, we're looking for a big push. If we don't, we're going to be looking for a move right back down towards the 52s as we have a gap to fill. On Palantir, we're going to be favoring a pushback up towards the 179 area, and we'll see if we break past this or if we get a rejection. For now, there is some temporary upside potential. Rivian has resistance at 13.18. If this breaks, we're going to be going higher. If not, we're going to reject, but for now, there's upside potential. On SoFi, if we break past 27.28, we're looking for a push for 28, but if we lose 26, we're turning back down. For now, there's upside potential for 28. For AMD, we're making lower highs here. If we end up losing this 214 area, we're looking for a dump back down to 206. If we break past 222, we're looking for a push back up. As of right now, we're making lower highs and lower lows, so we're favoring a pushback up towards that, or a pushback down towards like 210. On ARM, nice breakout today. We're looking quite bullish. We're going to see if we can hold above 192. That's where we have that resistance. Might retest that tomorrow and go higher for that 200 target. It still looks bullish. PayPal is favoring 69.88 to 70. We'll see if it rejects, but there's upside likely coming. Coinbase has 360 and 368 as our resistances. Then we'll see if we turn back down, so there's upside potential. Amazon could be dipping back down to 217. We also have a gap to fill at 216. We'll see if we bounce. Look for some downside temporarily, and we'll see how it goes. Meta is consolidating. We have resistance at 717, support down here around 706. We may consolidate for now, and we'll see if we reject or bounce. But for now, there is just a lot of sideways price action. So I expect that to continue. Google gapped up and is running. As long as we're above 244, we're favoring 248 all over again for a nice bounce. For MSTR, or not MSTR, Microsoft, we have 517 as resistance and 510 as our support. I expect this to consolidate, but I see a retest of 517 coming. And Oracle is going to be favoring the low 300s before it tries to bounce higher. For those interested, DJT is favoring 16.7 tomorrow, and we'll see if it rejects. The VIX may dip to about 18.17. We'll see if we bounce. Because this looks kind of bearish, the market might gap up tomorrow, try to push a little higher in the morning. But then Jerome Powell's speech could be a make or break for this. Will he cause the VIX to bounce or dump? The 10 years dipping, the dollar looks like it might dip, and so does crude, which makes me suspect that SPY and the QQQ have some upside potential, at least in the morning tomorrow. And then we're going to see if we get a big rejection or not. It depends on Jerome Powell. Tesla could be easily retesting the 440s or above. And then we're going to see what Jerome Powell has to say at 12:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So be ready for that just to be safe. So with that being said, guys, like I said before, I cannot make promises about Jerome Powell because the overall context of the economy is a little bit different now that President Trump is threatening more tariffs against China, right? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just trying to be unbiased when saying so. Will Jerome Powell change his tonality? Will he be more hawkish as a result, or does he just keep the same more dovish tone and where he's more confident about the cuts? We'll have to see about that. And how will the market respond? You never know sometimes. So it's best to be very unbiased and to be patient with the way the market is moving. So with that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please enjoy the rest of your guys' day, nights, or evenings, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll be back very soon tomorrow morning with another update to talk about what's happening with Tesla and the markets. So be ready for the big bank earnings in the morning alongside Jerome Powell's speech in the afternoon. And we'll see what happens to Tesla. It does look a bit more bullish for now, so we could be looking for more upside in the morning. Then we'll see what happens after that. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a good rest of your days, and peace out.